Call to order the special meeting for the Tourism Commission on November 3rd at 6 p.m. Roll call.
Yes.
Ed Hopler.
Here.
Jeff Kuderski.
Here.
Sean Marufka here. Lance Schaefer.
Here.
Mark Wiley, absent. Barb Wessner.
Here.
Okay, 6:03. Close roll call. Item number 2, citizen comment period. We have no citizen comments, no citizens in the room. Item number 3, finance discussion and draft of budget. Lance, here's.
Thank you.
So, John and I have been meeting or been emailing back and forth with Denise. In front of you is the budget. It shows the actual, and then just shows some figures of some ideas for 2023. First off, everyone should know that the 2023 department budget request forecast to increase 3% to $431K. The city is getting $151K, and the tourism is getting $279K. So for the projected, we want to add projected 2022 column. So the projection is 187.39. So if you see the top there in the actual, I put the 187.39. So with the balance that's coming over, we're looking at that. We're going to end the year at 253.649. So right now, if you look at the activity that's gone on since 2020, 2021, and where we're at for 2022, we obviously did not hit our income that we thought we were going to get for 2022. So I put in there just a flat 181K if we get that for 2023. Seems like our interest this year was, over 1,000, so I kept that in the interest on investments. So total resources would be 182K for 2023. If you look to the left of that, you'll see our expenses on what we've spent. We haven't spent much this year. So going down the line, we are not going to hire I have proposed that we won't hire a full-time salary person. Legal services, I put in there for another 20K. We can talk about that when we get down there, but there's some things I think we need legally needed. Sud-dry contractors, that is the 150K for the Franklin Field agreement for the end of 2023. So if you look, the 2022 150K has not been paid yet. That will be paid at the end of this month, at the end of December, sorry. Postage, $150 we put in there. Didn't really do much postage. Skip on down to membership and dues. That's if we want to continue to participate in some of the memberships that we are in. I kind of wrote everything out and went down to marketing services and or Engage Franklin. The idea would be to vote on or to discuss which direction we want to go with marketing our community. We haven't really done that. I know we said we were going to do that. I've met a lot with Carol Collective. We all know what Engage Franklin would like to do. So I just slotted for $100,000 to be put into that on however we want to utilize it for marketing. And then the street boards, if you look at it, that advertising is the $10,000 we've spent on banners and the street boards for this year. So that needs to get moved down into the streetscape signage boards. So for next year, we budgeting $15,000 just based off of inflation, and if we have a bad winter, repairing some of those. Total expenses are $286K. I feel that leaving $150K in our funds as a cushion would get us two things. It would get us a cushion for the Franklin Field deal for 2024. It'll also give us a cushion to continue with marketing for year 2. So, and we would hope that tourism in front 3, so it would be higher than the 180K. So all this is open for discussion. I've shared this with John and the city, and it's open for conversation.
Well, I just mentioned, and of course, we do have the option if something comes up where we change our minds, we can have a budget amendment done and
100%. So if what this is doing, so the battle has been, guys, is that, and I think John kind of was getting sick of me. I was like, what are we getting? What financially are we getting? And we were like talking that it's tough to create a budget with funds that are coming in at the end of the year. So we still haven't really gotten much for our 2022. So he really pressed Denise, is that her name?
yeah,
Pressed Denise to try to get some projections for us. And with that, I think it's better to gauge flat with the hope that it'll be higher. To your point, if we start spending a little bit more, then we can kind of gauge it in areas. But again, if there's something that anybody else thinks we should spend more money on, I guess I'm a little disappointed that it's as low as it is. I was thinking our return was going to be a little higher. So, I mean, Lance, again, I turn to you for how the hotels are doing. But yeah, that's where we're at. It's the low.
Why can't I remember this number? What is the city's grandfathered amount that they get to keep?
So the city right now is getting 151K.
Okay.
So we're technically going to, we do have cushion in there, but remember, we're finally back on track with the Franklin Field deal, so that 150K hasn't come out yet for this next.
So, this 180,379 through September means that there's one more quarter that we can't anticipate them.
Yeah, I didn't print that out in my slides, but right now,
Actually, that's what I'm projecting through the end of the year.
yeah.
So total receipts that are somewhere in the neighborhood of 330,000.
It says the estimated hotel room tax forecast was $431,000,
But that's high.
but then that's a high projection.
That's a high projection.
That's a increase of 3%.
But you're right. And your assumption on that.
So that's assuming that all area hotels are taking in about $4,125,000. That, if I'm doing the math right, I divided by 8%. Right, it's at 330 divided by 8 to get 4,125,000. If I'm doing that right, that seems low to me. Meaning I know what we're going to end the year with, and
Okay.
And the Staybridge has got to be somewhere in our neighborhood.
They're a little low.
Staybridge is a little low.
Yeah, so that was the conversation that we saw something last year come in right at the end of December, I think it was, you said, that
Yeah.
Staybridge was late to pay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they snuck in there right at the end of 2022, 21.
Yeah. Every year they do.
Yeah.
But so that part was about 10 grand low. That last, and that's in.
Yeah.
That's how I was able to project.
They do have a new owner now, don't they? That just happened.
Yeah, I wasn't tracking all of them, but that was, and there was another
The-
one that came in certain places. It was a little off too.
One, but I was also told that there could be a change in the amount of hotels we have or motels that we have next year, that one might be going away. So that might hurt a little bit. But that was, I heard that back in probably September.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't be none of the big ones.
I would think that the total room tax. Well, actually, I'm okay. No, I take this back because the Staybridge. I'm thinking that this total room revenue is but this would be taxable revenue. This seems low to me. It seems like
Okay.
instead of 4 million, it should be closer to 5.
Okay.
But, I mean, obviously these are real receipts. I mean, this is what we're getting and collecting, so, but, I
All right.
mean, anyway, so I guess to answer your question, I'm thinking there's $1 million more in taxable revenue, which would be 80,000. Okay. Coming in the city. I'm not sure what that
All right,
disconnect
we'll
is
just
there.
have to connect and see
Yeah.
as the time goes on.
I don't remember what year the proration to the city ends. Do
Oh,
you?
that's a good idea to ask.
5 years or 7 years?
The proration to the city.
Well, at some point in time, they're getting a prorated portion now, but at some time, I believe that'll go away.
Well, I think and I could be wrong on this, but I think they're grandfathered right now. There should be a 70-30 split. It's not 70-30, right? Because the city can, their revenues, I think it benchmarks back to 2014 or something like that. So they're always guaranteed 151, where they're at now. But as revenues grow, they'll get capped at 30%. So at some point, I'm just tossing out numbers, but let's say it's 65-35 right now, right? That they're getting 35-35 right now, right? That they're getting 35% of the room tax. At some point, as room taxes grow and they get closer to that 151 becomes 30%, then that's what they'll get is 30% of room tax. But right now, they're getting more, so they're getting a
Because
bigger
I
cut.
thought each year for a certain period that he got to keep went down.
It did, and I think they've actually gone through that period now, meaning we've been around long enough that it's down now to the 2014 number, and now they get to lock at 151. And our greatest hope is that as room taxes grow, their share doesn't grow with it. It'll cap at 30%. So truly, at some point, this commission will get 70% of the room tax, and right now that's not happening. So as we look at this budget chart, we're not quite where we would be maybe 3 years from now.
Yeah.
If those grow,
So
we'll get more of it.
other things I should note is the reason why there's 20K in legal services. I mean, we can go into it more next meeting, but I feel like the Franklin Field deal is going to have an amendment put in based off of the fact that they went on and hired Laura that was supposed to be a shared employee of ours. So there is a portion of the contract that we need to change and update, which is going to take some legal work. And then also if the agreement that we go into with either any of our marketing services with either Carl Collective or Engage Franklin, whatever we decide to do, we should have a legal document created that's stating what it's used for and what it comes out to, so that we can have ourselves covered. So that's where the 20,000 comes out of. So, and then of course we would have to find our own attorney, not a city attorney, to do that, like we did last time. Personally, I'd like to see us figure out a way to market our community, on marketing, to spend some money on driving tourism. So we can talk about that at the next meeting.
Is there any talk about going after the Airbnbs? I know we had a little bit of discussion on that. I don't know.
So again, that's an open conversation that I think we can have. We brought it up at a council meeting 2 years ago. And that was completely shut down.
Okay.
I think it would go into that there's just not the resources to do that. But we can bring that up again.
Do they
too.
not pay that hotel tax?
No.
They don't.
We do not. Franklin does not go after Airbnb hotel tax.
So they're not so Airbnb is not submitting that,
We are not going after it. We're not.
and we're not receiving anything.
No.
No receipts.
And there was some legal thing that the mayor sent over. I remember when Carrie was around here that they did not want to go forward with trying to get that money.
Is that common for other cities too?
I would have to ask that.
Because I'm,
Yeah, I don't know enough about it, but that was a big conversation. I think remember when Visit Milwaukee was here, because they were saying that we should really look into going after that if we want to do that. To go after that and figure that out with the city.
Is there a healthy Airbnb market though in Franklin? I mean, I know there's a few
I-
places, but
I don't think there are, but
Yeah.
were you guys? Do you guys remember the Visit Milwaukee meeting?
Visit Milwaukee, she thought they were.
She thought it was
In the
very
Franklin
healthy.
area.
Yeah.
She said when the baseball games are going on at the Rock and other events during the summer, that there's a spike in Airbnb business in our community.
I guess that's the question on the membership. You know, we talked about joining.
Yep.
Visit, I don't know if that was included in that membership or. But-
Does an Airbnb have to get some kind of a permit from the city to operate?
Do not know.
So then,
Good question.
so nobody has to even know,
I think that's part of it.
and that's part of the
Is there'd have to be some changes at the city
Right.
to accommodate the Airbnb tax, and I don't think there's any,
Okay.
Okay.
that's just something to do with that.
Wisconsin Hotel and Lodging Association is having their annual conference at the Osthoff Resort this weekend. The part I like about, well, I like a lot of parts about attending the conference, but it's always good because an attorney shows up that's versed in lodging law. And as you might guess, the WHLA has got the same, they have the same concerns we do as a tourism commission. They want all the room tax money to go to tourism promotion will help their members, right? So I'm gonna bring this up because I know that the state, passed a law saying that OTAs need to submit, room tax collected, sales tax, you have to collect sales tax in your sales and remit to the municipalities. But I think what you're saying, Sean, is that might be happening, they might be collecting it, but unless you chase them down to get it.
Yeah, Laura mentioned in one of her meetings with me that she was, I think when she introduced herself, that she wanted to go after the Airbnb business to figure that out.
I'll at
Yeah.
least ask though, because
Yeah, I
like
think
in
that's a good
communities
ask.
like Beloit, their, the form that we have to fill out when we submit room tax, now we have to tell them how much of our taxable revenues are from third parties. And that's because they're getting money from places like Expedia, and they're trying to match it up with what the listed as revenue not subject to tax, because again, the OTA is collecting it and remitting it. When I say OTA, online travel agencies are collecting and submitting it right to the community. So it sounds like we're not maybe getting some of that.
And you asked you would like to know about the memberships.
I was just questioning if we, in the membership, if that was included, or if we think that's something,
Yep.
I don't know what the member.
Is Visit
cost.
Milwaukee in there, or?
I think Visit Milwaukee is part of that. I will double check for you though.
And if it isn't, I think we should,
There is a couple memberships that we are involved in that we get emails on and notifications of what's going on. That helps with the city planning. Okay, so I think any changes, or should we put it together a vote? To submit this, I think you have one comment that we should be able to maybe put something in that we will revisit this if we see an increase. Is that what you're saying?
Well, then we don't have to put it, I think we can always have that option to do a budget amendment.
Okay. So any last minute things on this, or any changes we want to make?
For me, I would recommend that, I'd make a motion that we adopt this budget
Okay.
as presented.
Ed with the motion,
I'll second.
Jeff with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. All right, item 4 is our next meeting. Is our next meeting the 16th or
16th.
the 16th? At 6 o'clock? Does that work for everybody?
Sure.
So,
16.
And then item 5 is adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
Okay. Second? All in favor?
Second.
Aye.